Hey folks, this is Mickey G. Welcome to this edition of Old Fools Talking Old School, one that we call There's No Place Like Home, where Rodney and I talk about all the issues that come up with being a homeowner. Hope you enjoy it. Well, see, the house, our house is, what they call a spec house. They came in and built out this whole neighborhood. So, the different builders had their spec homes, and
Yeah.
you don't really get an opportunity to suggest things unless you start with somebody and say, I want that house.
Right.
And they show you the specs for it and the plans for it. And you say, okay, I don't like something I've always loved in a house, and we've only had one that had it. I'd love to have the double front doors, because if you ever need to bring something in that's halfway wide, that's not a problem. The house we had in Illinois had the double wide doors, and it made it so much easier to bring stuff into the house, But, the spec house doesn't come with that. So unless you are at the very beginning of the building process and say, I know it's a spec home, but I want that home. I'm buying that home, but I want this to be changed, that to be changed. They don't change anything. And when they were building out this neighborhood, this was when there was a little bit of a boom in housing in Murfreesboro. This is, right at around 2000 when they was building these houses. So as the guy was telling me, he said, there were certain builders who had good people working with them that had been working with them for years on their specific homes they were building. There was other guys that were coming in who, good builders and all, but they were building so quickly, they had to go out and hire people. And of course, the white folks, all they think is they went out and hired all these Mexicans to come in and help them build these houses.
Right.
That's why the quality started to go down. I was telling you about the tile that they had laid with those big wide, gaps of grout around and stuff like that. He said that's why that happened. All the good builders and the good guys that did that kind of stuff were working on their houses. So these people they were bringing in that, didn't have the same kind of skill level and all. Unfortunately, you see that in some of the houses. And I said, yeah, and he was saying that's a perfect example. He said, you look at your tile and there ain't no way it should look like that. It should have been all the way up to the frame of the door and a very minimal amount of grout. And you got like 4 inches of grout.
Yes, sir.
That's because they didn't want to go back and cut the tile the way to the spec that should have been. They went with what they had cut. Their measurement was off. They didn't care. They filled the rest of it in with grout, And so that was another issue, that he said that some of these houses, he said, you got a good house. I'm not by any moment saying you don't have a good house. You have a very nice house, but you got to realize that it was a spec home. They were going to build it to those specs, regardless if there was some issues, like you say, with not having a half bath and things of that nature, because they didn't have the time, or they were going to lose money if they did those kind of things. And there was no owner to come to them and say, I want this, that, and the other. They were just building them to the specs, and that's all they built to.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's one of the things that I've always thought about getting a home built. And I think really we're well past that now. I can't see us getting to a situation where we're going to get a house built at this point in our lives. But I always felt like you could stipulate you wanted those kind of things that you wanted in a house. But like you say, you don't do that as a living. So there's going to be things that you're not going to think about, that you're going to have to depend on the builder to suggest to you, or maybe even say, I don't know if you really want to do that for these reasons. And if you don't have somebody like that, I mean, what can you do? That's not the kind of work you do every day.
That's right. You're at their mercy.
You're at their mercy.
And unless you got some long ducats, you ain't got nobody that's professional enough to come in there and take care of those things for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a trip, man. That's capitalism. We're gonna take advantage of your ass to maximize our profits. And that's just the way the system goes. And I tell you what, man, I'm a creature of like when we were in the military, the after action reports. My after action reports is me sitting up here thinking like, why in the hell didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I do the same thing.
man,
The
I'm
same
like,
thing.
why are you so? I'm like, cause I should have known that. You know, that's what I'd be thinking. But no, how can you not? I mean, if you're not, that's not something you deal with. You know, I mean, how can you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I know they used to always say, well, before they sheetrock your house, you need to go in and make sure this boom, 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 that's done. Once they get the sheetrock up, ain't nothing you can do about it. And I'm like, okay, that's good to say when you're somebody who knows what those things you should be looking for.
Right.
When you're just a layman who has no idea of what you'd be looking for anyway, what are you supposed to look for?
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, you can't think of every little thing. And we've had the same about the cable thing. I've had to get sort of real innovative and going down in that crawl space, trying to run cable under the floors to bring it up into the room because that ain't where we want our TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the exact opposite wall of what we want our TV to be and where our bed to be, kind of things. But like I say, that ain't what you do for a living, so you're not going to sort of notice those things. You think that because these are the experts, they build houses for a living, that they would know those kind of things and say, well, yeah, we need to put a outlet for cable on both of the wide walls in case you want to change the look of your room around, things like that.
These suckers there's no integrity anymore, man. It's like, this is what, it reminds me of that thing I saw on something, but it had this dude who was applying as a welder for a job. And the dude said, well, we have a job that pays $40 an hour, and we have a job that pays $20 an hour. And he said, well, we're going to offer you the $20 an hour job. And so he said, show us some of your welding capability. So he did a welding job. He did it half-ass. And then they said, well, he did another job, and he did it excellent. And they said, well, why is it the difference between those? He said, that's a $20 job, and this is a $40 $40 an hour job. And that's what it comes down to, man.
Yeah. Yeah. You sort of get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Just like you said, you can probably get those builders who are going to suggest those things and stuff to that nature if you want to pay for that.
Right.
If you want to pay for that, you can probably get those kind of things. But as I say, I know, as you say, that's part of capitalism. You want to make as much profit as you can. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. But it's hard to check those kind of people when you don't have the expertise to do that.
That's it.
It's just very hard to do that.
Well, and then too, back in the day, it used to be a little integrity into it, to where they would tell you a better situation. But now they're like, okay, that's what you want. Okay, we know it's half-assed, so we're gonna give it to you, though. But you want top dollar for it. And that's what bothers me. And I'm like, man, gone are the days where you hear about these men. Oh, I built this house from the ground up. Well, we ain't them kind of dudes no more. And so we have to depend on other people. And unfortunately, that depending on them, man, ain't worth a damn. They'll sell you short every time.
No. For the most part, that's exactly right. You find some who will do that, but it's just, as I say, these days you're gonna have to pay for that.
Yeah, you got to pay.
You're gonna have to pay for that. They ain't gonna do it for free, so you're gonna have to pay for that. And if you don't have that, you're gonna end up something a little inferior.
That's right. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this commercial right now about they're showing this little white family there with the house that somebody built for them. I mean, if they're like me, they didn't know nothing about what was being built. That builder had their best interest. It's almost like being a fiduciary in finances. Mm-hmm. You're looking out for my best interest. Ain't nobody other than that. Ain't nobody looking out for your best interest. You say, well, you know what? before you do that, I can do this, and this will be that, and da da da. You don't hear that no more. It's like, okay, this is what, or even here is the damn, I can't even think of it now. Oh, here's the floor plan. We're gonna build this respect. We ain't giving you no more, no less.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
They ain't gonna say nothing about, well, this space right here could be utilized like this. They ain't doing that. Hey, this is what you paid for. You gave me $2,000 for this floor plan. This is what we're gonna give you. And if you don't watch out, we're gonna short you on some square footage on this motherfucker.
Yeah, because I've always debated that issue of square footage, because I'm like, if somebody come in and they'll measure, they say, oh, okay, you got XX square feet. Somebody else will come in and measure. They say, well, yeah, no, you got this much square feet. Because, especially, I mean, there's no house that I've ever seen. Well, probably back in the old days they were, when, every room was completely square.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can measure 8 by 8, 8 by 8, and 8 by 8. But most rooms aren't like that anymore. And then if you got dens and media rooms and things of that are odd shaped and stuff like that, I've always wondered, are you really sure that that's exactly how many square feet I got?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Exactly. Same here. I had a dude, I guess he thought I was stupid or whatnot, because I had him come out to remeasure my house. And I'm like, I don't know about that, because I made some last minute changes to it.
Right.
All that kind of thing. And hell, all these years, I never said nothing. I wasn't interested in raising my property taxes. So after I got my 100%, well, I don't pay property taxes. I'm like, well, hell, come out here and remeasure my house. Dude, like, well, it's really hard that we have somebody come out to remeasure their house. I said, yeah. I said, because I don't pay property taxes. So I let the boy know. Because I don't pay property taxes, so I don't really give a damn. Oh, yeah, okay. So he came out here and he measured the rest of the house. And at first he came up with, oh, you got a extra 500 square foot. I said, no, okay. So I let it go. And then after a while, I went on to the county assessors, and then they readjusted it. It turned out to be another 600 square foot. And I was like, okay. Now, at this point in time, I'm looking at, if I sell, I want all the square.
That's exactly right.
That's what I'm looking at. That's why I did it. And the other reason is because I knew I didn't have to pay for it.
Right. Right.
And so I'm like, how did this go all them years being said that it was this, but then it ended up being that? So I was like, okay, that works for me. All I want to know is, because if I decide to sell it, I'm getting full advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've always questioned that too, how they can drive by my house and decide my house is now $20,000 more than it was the last time you assessed it.
Yeah.
You ain't come inside. You ain't done nothing to see if I've done something different. The whole inside the house could be just trashed.
Yep.
But they can drive by my house and decide that my house is now, worth $20,000 or $30,000. I mean, from one standpoint, like you say, from one point of view, I'm saying, yeah, if I get ready to sell, I want to be able to say that.
Yep.
But when it's now that I'm paying my property taxes, I don't want you to come by my house and say all of a sudden my house is worth that much more money, and all you did was just drive by.
Yeah. Drive by and took a sorry ass picture. But I'm like, man, these it's a racket, man. It's all a racket.
Oh yeah. Very much so.
I look at that, man, and I'm like, you know what? You can't even, even the way they list a house, even though they added the square footage on it, they still don't say that you got a powder bath, or I got a bathroom up here, 3/4 bath in my man cave up here. They don't say all that, I guess you got to say that when somebody wants to come and look at the property to see if they want to buy it. But I'm like, that's a false indicator. You know, especially if
Yep.
somebody's saying, well, I need this amount of bathrooms or whatnot. But hell, I ain't going nowhere, no way. So the hell with it.
Well, that's why I said, about building another house, we were well past it. Anytime I start talking about anything like that, and I'm like, I know. We ain't doing nothing. We ain't doing nothing.
Brother's always thinking ahead, though, just in case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm always trying to be mindful of the market, which is actually has started to go down here.
Yeah.
Because thing with the interest rates and everything, it started to slack off quite a bit here. But I'm always mindful of that kind of stuff, But yeah, we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
gonna be right here.
I figured that out when we had this house painted. I'm like, moving all this. Oh no. And but I think about it. I see how the market is around here, because there's this one neighborhood that's newly established. They got some nice houses over there, and they probably 4,000, 4,500 square foot. So you know what? It'd be nice to move over here. It's nice. There's only like 10 houses in the little deal. In the I guess you'll call it a cul-de-sac. The only thing I don't like about it is right off of a main drag.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a house over there that's been for sale since it was built. Ain't nobody never moved into it. And I know what it is. It's right off 29th Street. There's a lot of traffic there, and you probably hear traffic noise. But they haven't sold that house yet. A few houses back in the neighborhood, they've started building new houses back there. So I was like, well, you know what? I mean, I said, we don't need that much house. I said, but I wouldn't mind as an investment. I said, because, again, everything is financial now. As far as I'm concerned, I'm like, look, if we go ahead and do that, all I'm looking at, she said, well, I don't mind if we do that, if we just take the money that we make off our house, because it's appreciated quite a bit.
Right.
And put down on another house. I'm like, oh, no, sister, we on the wrong ship here together now. I said, if we do that, we put that money into some investments, and I'm going to start my VA all over again, because at this point, I don't pay off the house. I said, if we do that, we'll just get that house, and then, hey, there's enough money in here that if you want to stay there, you can. If not, sell that some bitch. If something happened to me, you know, I'm like, nah, we ain't finna give that money right back to them. What's the point of having a house as valued as this if you're going to get the money right back to the system? I'm like, no, we'll keep that and start out with that VA with zero down, no closing, and miss a payment for a month or two. And she was like, well, okay. I thought about that, but hell, just the thought of moving, man, I ain't.
Yeah. That's the way we are too. I think about it every time I go up in that attic or that other garage and see all that up there. I'm like, I don't think about moving. Well, probably I could throw 85% of it away, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be so bad. But I'm like, no, we get to the point to where that just ain't gonna be an option.
That's it. Hell, I'd have to pay somebody $20,000 to come in here and move all.
Yeah. And that's what Mary said. We ain't as young as we used to be. We can't move all that. I said, well, man, we ain't gonna move all this stuff. We'll get somebody to move all. Well, how much is that gonna cost? And I'm like, well, yeah, you're right. That ain't cheap.
Yeah. I might be wishful thinking saying 20.
Yeah. No, I said, no. I said, ain't even, like you say, you make more money on your property, but you're going to have to pay more money on whatever you buy. So, almost like you ain't gaining nothing,
Yeah.
So, like I say, those thoughts have quickly gone away.
Yeah, that's right. We were sitting down there talking. I said, I've been hee-hawing for the last year every month. I'm like, hey, I think I'm getting to that point now. I might just have to go pay it off, because I'm looking at what I pay on it. If I pay it off, that's that much more money coming into the account. It's all about the money now. I'm like, shit, if I pay that off, then just that much more money coming into the account. I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to pull the trigger though.
Yeah, that's the way it is with me. I used to always say, well, at least we got, take the mortgage interest rate off the income tax and stuff. That ain't that big of a deal no more.
No,
It ain't making that big of a difference anymore. So I said, that
No, sir.
really ain't such a big deal that it's going to make that big of a difference, And so I don't know. I think about the same thing too. Get it paid off and be done with it, and not have to worry about making the mortgage payments. And then I said, well, to do that, I'm probably going to take money out of the retirement account, which is going to, count toward income. I'm going to pay tax on that to pay it off. So, in the tax bracket that we're in now is a lot more than the mortgage interest rate we're paying right now. So I'm like, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
That's it. And that's the conclusion I come to every month. I'm going to pay it off. Then I get ready to write that check. No, I'm not.
Yeah. That's what I've done too. So we just let it alone and keep on doing what we've been doing for the last number of years. I might get to a point at some point where I might want to do it, but it's going to be a while down the road. It ain't going to be anytime soon.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt, man.
Yeah.
But it's good to have the option though. It's good.
Well, yeah, I've always said that. It's always good to have that option, not being in a situation where you ain't got no choice.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
At this point, it's always good to have the option and to be able to at least think about it, and look at the pros and cons and, then come up with what seems to be the best decision to make at that point. So, yeah, it's always good to be able to do that. And so far, we're still in that situation. But as I say, over the last few years, just like you, he's just come down to, nah, I ain't gonna do that, So we'll just let it ride. I mean, I guess it's like that old school thought. It feels good to say, well, I own my house straight out. I don't buy nothing. That part of me, sort of plays in there a little bit when I'm thinking about it. And then I say, well, look at all the other aspects other than that sort of personal satisfaction of being able to say you own your house straight out. And when I think about all the other ramifications, I'm like, no, there ain't no sense in doing that. It ain't going to really save you nothing at this point. It's going to really probably cost you more in the end. So yeah, I'm the same way. Just let it go where it's at now.
Yeah. My only thing is that tariffs, that I think about too is now that I don't have to pay property taxes, basically the only thing I'd have to pay is insurance, but
right.
But it's like, potato.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm just going. I thank God I'm in the position that I'm in, to where I don't have to worry about it, and I got some liquid income coming in that a lot of folks don't know about. So I'm just gonna appreciate it, and ain't no need to jump to conclusion. My whole thing is that when it comes to thousands of dollars, I'm hesitant to spend. I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it. Rather than, like you said, when you got to this point that we'd pay it off, right? I was like, yeah, I said that, but that ain't finna happen.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things. Is you sort of things change. I mean, your way of thinking change and stuff like that. You look at getting to a certain point of making a decision, and then when you think about it and look at the alternatives and the options and the good and bad, yeah, you do change your mind.
Yep.
Sometimes on stuff like that. I mean, because we've talked about that same thing. If we get to a certain point, we're just going to pay it off. Just go and pay it off. But now that you're in retirement and stuff like that, it's a little bit different than when you were out there, with that 9 to 5 every day. You got to look at especially at the tax ramifications of that kind of money, if you got to take it out of retirement accounts and things of that nature. So yeah, I think those things do change. I think you reserve the option of changing your mind.
Yeah. Plus, too, once you get in those particular situations, then you see the options that are there, and then it's different than when you're on the outside looking in and making decisions. Because it's easier to, people that ain't got no money always got a way to do it. But when they get money, then it changes. It's like, well, maybe I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the way it works, man. It's all clear. Oh, I would do this and I would do that, but you don't understand the ramifications. Half the people, if they do have a retirement account, when I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, but then when you find out the penalizing that you get, like, well, maybe I need to rethink that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it makes a difference if, your retirement account is your only source of income too.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate in the fact that we have other sources of income, and at least, in our case, our retirement account is just something there that I look at and hoping it's going to grow and grow and grow, and which it ain't always doing.
Exactly.
But as far as day-to-day living, that ain't part of the equation right now. Knock on wood. I mean, I'm blessed to be able to be in that kind of situation. But
yes, sir.
We just sort of look at what we're getting from our, retirements from, the military and all that kind of stuff. That's our income. I'll follow our other accounts, and that's where the bulk of our money's at. But
right.
I don't even sort of use that as part of the equation when it comes down to the day-to-day living, because what we're getting from that takes care of all the bills and then some.
Yes, sir.
So
it's recreation,
very
everything.
Yeah. It's very blessed to be in that kind of situation, and ain't got to worry about, well, we can't do that this month because we got to pay these bills, or we kind of thing. Still do and get whatever we want, and pretty much 100% of what we need and about 99.9 of what we want. I don't think you can ask for much more than that.
That's right. I read some of these articles sometime, and what they're talking about, how much you're drawing out of your retirement funds and whatnot. And I'm like, man, I thank God I don't have to worry about that. I mean, it ain't even been an issue. I was telling Rosin about her job out there, because she still got her 401k through them, because they go through a third party place. And I said, I bet they talking about you out there, because you've been retired for however many years, and you ain't used none of your money out of that. Thank God we ain't got to. We living out of what our retirements are.
Yeah. That's what we're doing too. I signed up for that Moneyist thing, where you can send in people sending their different scenarios and asking for like advice. My money managers and all that provide there, and they're just common people that gives advice and what they think and stuff like that. I look at that just to get some idea of where people are in situations. I'm 60. I'm looking at retiring, and should I take my Social Security? I got this much in a 401k. I got houses worth it. I look at those things and just to get an idea of what other kind of situation people are in, and what kind of feedback they're getting from people, what they should do.
They used to do that on Kiplinger's. That's where I subscribed to it. And then they stopped, because I saw plenty of brothers on there saying, I'm retired military, I'm doing this, doing that, and then listen to what the experts requested that he do, or suggested that he do. And so what is this now that you signed up for? I'd like to get on that.
I'm trying to think. Is it the Moneyist or the Moneyist? I'm trying to find it now to see.
Okay.
Because it comes on my Facebook feed too.
Yeah, because Kiplingers used to do that. That's why I loved it, man. You sit there and get ideas. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm looking for it now. Of course, I'm looking for it on my Facebook feed. It's not coming up, but yeah, they have all those different kind of scenarios, and then if people will write in, and as far as I can tell, they're legitimate, things, and not something that somebody just making up and putting in there just to have something on to talk about. But I go in there and look at that and see what kind of suggestions. I also try to look at, people will say, I got, this much. I mean, I'm this age, I got this much saved, I got these bills, just to sort of compare where they are to where I am.
Yeah.
To see if I'm, in that kind of situation of saying, well, damn, I'm doing pretty good compared to them, kind of thing, at this stage. And This last one was asking about, talking about how much money they'd make, Social Security if they took it early and if they took it at 70 and all that. I said, well, I've already made that decision, so that's not an issue. I can't find it.
Well, half of them, they taking the chance of never getting it,
Yeah. Well, that was one of my things. And I know, it goes against the conventional, financial wisdom of taking it early, as early as you can, I guess you could say, not so much early. But I always say, I ain't guaranteed tomorrow. Yeah, don't you wish sometimes when you get older that you were back as a kid where somebody made all those tough decisions for you? Well, good or bad, if you live long enough, you're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions. We hope you enjoy this edition. Please join us next time for Old Fools Talking Old School. Until then, this is Mickey G. Peace.